The hour of 5 o'clock having arrived, I'd like to call to order the board meeting for March 21st. Let's start with the pledge. Director Ellis, if you will.
Ready to begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Diane.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Here.
Here. The adoption of the agenda. Motion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. And now we have a presentation.
All right, so the district receives a lot of its insurance services from the Aqua JPIA. We have some good news to report tonight, and I won't steal the thunder, but Mr. Andy Sells is here from Aqua JPIA, and Bill Knudsen on the executive committee are also here. So gentlemen.
Step right up.
Step right up to the microphone, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for this opportunity this afternoon here, almost this evening. I'm Andy Sells with the Aqua JP. I'm the executive officer. Bill's on our executive committee, as a few of you know. I report to a board of 360 board members. So they then elect an executive committee from that group, and Bill sits on that group and he is local here at Ewing.
Keep my finger on it.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's better 9 than 360.
Yeah.
But we are here tonight to bring to you a presentation. As you may know, the Joint Powers, the Aqua JPA Joint Powers Insurance Authority, is a risk-sharing pool that is made up of about, like I said, 360 water agencies around the state of California. These are all self-insured risk-sharing pools. So because all of the water agencies that participate in the program are public entities, that makes us a public entity, the JPIA. So there is no profit margin involved. We don't pay income taxes. We're considered a special district in the state of California as such. So JPAs are actually very popular in the state of California. School districts do it a lot as well. There's probably 100 plus JPAs around the state. So not all of them operate the same way. Many of them contract out, but we have a full staff. So we're here today to present a check, since it is a nonprofit organization. We're bringing a check to the tune of $145,176.
Oh, there you go. That's nice. Thank you so much. There you go.
You got a word?
Well, I've been around the district here in San Diego for about 20 years, and it's always nice to work with Vallecitos. You've been a leader up here in North County. You go back to the North County Study Group, and we were opposing San Diego on some of the rate hikes and the rest of it. It's always nice to be back here. I'm sorry I haven't been here for about 3 or 4 years, but this will make up for it. You've got a great organization, and I think you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll just give you a couple words here. I say congratulations to you, but really the congratulation goes to Glenn and staff here at the district. They do a great job. Just to give you a couple of bullets that I bring with me, you know, a big thing about being in a risk-sharing pool is everybody shares risk, and so we're very big into training. And Vallecitos is very participatory. Your staff, I think, hosted like 6 separate training sessions last year, and you invite other districts in the area here from things like lockout, tagout to trenching and evacuation, trenching, shoring, fall protection. I was going to say asbestos cement training. So those are all on-site training. Peter Kaczynski lives in the area here. He's here to do that training, and your staff is very good about hosting those and doing that, and that makes all of the agencies in the area have a better chance at avoiding some of those costly claims.
And it's a central spot, so it's kind of central for all of the North County District anyway. So we love to come here.
The staff, we have an online training program as well that staff takes advantage of. You've got 103 staff members registered to take training in that online program. It's a very effective use of resources. There's no additional fee for it, so they take advantage of that program. We have a professional development program for waterworks, new supervisor in human resources, and you have 9 students involved in that, and that's like 45 hours of training they have to go through before they get their certificate there. So hats off to staff and all of your job there, your participation at the different programs at the JPIA, and it's because of that it brings your losses down. Currently, all of your EMONs, which sort of compare your losses to the average, are 1 or less, so you get a discount in both your liability and workers' compensation programs. So it's been a while. Congratulations.
President Hernandez, I want to tell you that Glenn has the real check.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't know what he's talking
the
about.
check is in the mail.
Yeah.
I'm glad I
He
didn't hear
got that right away. So,
Well, thank you very much. We do know our staff has done an outstanding job in keeping us safe, and I appreciate the acknowledgement with a little return on our investment.
yes. One last favor, because it's a big check for our group. Can we get a picture with the board?
Oh.
And have,
Sure.
that way I can include it in my newsletter. I don't know what you guys want to do.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to get checks, so.
Usually we're spitting.
Don't pay attention to the photographer.
Yeah.
Want me in? Okay.
Paul does not work with the common order of our safety program.
Thanks. She's not here. As long as somebody's not behind me with my photo showing that it's okay. You guys do.
What do you want?
I'm gonna want you to tuck in pretty tight.
Plug it in?
Level of check.
A little higher?
No, level of check, yeah.
Okay, level of check out.
Even more.
Which way?
Just everybody tuck in.
Tuck in?
We're all friends, right?
Hello.
Oh, that looks good. That looks.
Check level?
They need to buy you a stool.
We have a ladder problem.
Hanging up there from that ceiling.
Was there
Get
safety
another one.
account?
Just to make sure. Okay, I always have back.
We got one more?
You
got the-
even use a
Yeah.
flash, that's exciting.
This is very
You.
professional.
Okay.
That's professional.
And one more. Got it, thank you.
Okay.
That's what it is,
All right. Well,
Good job.
congratulations. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Bill, thank you for coming by. Yep, come by more often with more checks.
Yeah, Glenn invited us to the next meeting if we bring another check.
Yeah.
Bring checks anytime you like. Look for you in one second.
If I could say one thing before you leave, Andy, I really want you to know I attend all the Aqua conferences, and I look forward to JPIA's day and a half, because you give a really great educational courses in there, and I think everyone really appreciates that. So thank you very much for doing such a great job.
Well, thanks, and we're gonna hit you up again about that captive bar. Nice little idea. I gave us a little taste of it at that lunch. We'll talk some more about that. It's
Okay.
Make a way to even save more money for us, so.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Very good, moving on. Public comments. I have one speaker slip here from Alfredo Nunez. Alfredo. Nunzio. Nunzio.
Half the boat. I'm from Italy.
Yeah. I'm going there.
You
I
going
need
there?
a lesson.
It's good to visit, not
Yes.
to live there.
No.
Not to live there. This is a Kyle, Leviton Builder. This is my general contractor.
Uh-huh. Kyle?
And, thank you guys to listen to my, I should say, complaint. I bought a lot in Escondido a couple years ago, off El Norte, 1810 El Norte Parkway. It's in the corner El Norte in Nordale. And when I purchased the lot, I had a ladder, sewer, and water meter in the lot. So I went to the county, because I'm right on the border. I went to the county, I got the permit, built a house, and we built a house, and now the house has been sitting there vacant for approximately 4 months, because I've done everything possible. Sorry, my English, my contractor explained, he speaks better English than me, and I've done everything what water district asked me to do, because somehow in the run, when they did the pad, somebody screwed up with the pad. They did it 1 foot lower. So the house is there, but it's too late. We cannot move the house in, you know? So now we need a pump to pump the sewer water and go to the So I went to the county. I like to do everything by the book. I went to the county, and I got a permit from the county to put a pump on. By the water district, and they made me write, the Vallecitos Water District, they made me hire 2 civil engineering, hire architectural, 2 different times, 3 different times. Somehow, I don't know who's right, somehow they don't like the pump. And the pump, I can do the pump for $7,000. I cannot do existing ladder. They want me to do another ladder when the Northdale goes down the hill, which is about 150 feet away, and it's about $50,000 cost, which the general contractor, license, they referred to me. You don't even want to touch it because it's too dangerous. This major streets have to be closed, and I'm gonna pass everything to my general contractor, Kyle, because he's been through from day one. I'm sure you guys understand him more than me. Thank you. I want him to finish the story.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Kyle Leviton with Leviton Builders. And we, like he said, we got in there and we built off the actual elevations that were provided to us by the architect and the civil engineer. And then when we went and exposed our lateral, hindsight 2020, there's a discrepancy of about 12 inches. So we went back and forth with the water district, and we worked with you guys and willing, like you said, to do everything by the book. We're not trying to pull any wool over anybody's eyes. But we're looking to get an ejector pump put in there, and they're just, at first, like you said, they'd like us to get a civil engineer out there and do the calculations and drawings and architecture and show that we can't roll the Y, we can't increase it to a 6-inch lateral to get a 1% slope, which we're willing to do. And we went back and forth. We spent a lot of money going and just trying to check the boxes that you guys asked us to check, because we know you guys have a system of checks and balances as well, and we're willing to accommodate that. But at the end of the day, we'd like to be able to put the pump in there so that we can actually pump on our property and get the waste into your guys' sewer there. Coming in as a ratepayer, we're gonna start paying bills every month out there for this house, and we're just wondering what you guys can do to help us get that through, to get this thing, this pump put in on our property, of course, per our cost, our responsibility, the homeowner's responsibility, not Vallecitos' responsibility for the pump, but as ours, the homeowners, the new homeowners are gonna take over this property, being 100% responsible for that, so that we can get this thing put to bed and move on to our next project in the city here.
By the way, I have one more thing to say. The pump company, I'm sure you guys know, is the Medano system pump. It is #1 in San Diego. And I went to the county. I got a permit from the county of San Diego to put the pump. We have the permit. I've done everything possible to do it. And Medano say we put the pump this every day through Escondido, through San Marcos, through Del Mar, everything. They say, what's the problem? Why you can't do? But the water district tells me that they wanted me to do new lateral all the way 100, 200 feet lower in the low level, the lower there. They will cost over $50,000. Even the general contractor doesn't want to do it. He says it's too dangerous. He said if a rain comes, a car can fall in the hole. I have to dig. It's going to take 2 months, and that's more cost to me. I know it's nobody's business, but I have to extend my construction loan. I already did once. I got a points, fee, payments I do every month. So, and I can finish this problem with $7,000 with the pump legally. I got the permit for, and I really need you guys' help to move forward, because right now we're really stressful.
Have you identified where the error took place in the 1-foot elevation? I'm an architect and a contractor. So,
I don't know.
yeah, boys, when this happens, they're looking at me and go, how come you screwed up?
Yeah.
So did you
Something.
find out
Yeah.
how you got 1 foot lower in elevation so you couldn't accomplish what you wanted to originally?
We went and built off the actual sea level elevations that was provided by the architect and the engineer. The engineer didn't pass it through the county, and the county said, here you go. Talking with the water district, they said, well, the county's supposed to refer you over to us for a pre-con before you even get started, and that didn't happen through the county of San Diego. We built go ahead, sorry.
Well, where I was going with that is where your liability should be lying. If the architect and/or the civil engineer has not done the correct job, they're the ones that are at fault. And they're not required, but for the most part, those professionals have an E&O insurance, which would cover
Right.
this problem.
Right.
For us, it's not so much the pump now, but it's what happens later. Now, Shirley McDonald, we all know them, they've been, put pumps all over the darn place, but when something goes wrong, they don't call McDonald, they call us.
Yeah.
And it's our problem. So I'd be happy,
It's not agendized,
oh, that's where I was going with that.
not agendized.
So putting it on the agenda,
Put it on the agenda, and then you talk to the general manager.
exactly, well, I was going with that too. So Director Martin is right. We can listen to you. That little bit of information I provided may give you a little bit of area to direct, but in order for us to do anything further, we have to have you talk to the general manager, put it on our agenda so we can discuss it and make a vote one way or the other. So I think that's what we're going to direct you to do.
Okay.
Talk to the general manager, see if there's a solution, and if not, come back to us on the agenda.
Does that make sense, the agenda part of it? We're not allowed to discuss and make decisions on
Yeah,
it.
you
Right,
can say
yeah.
right now, go ahead, all
Yeah.
that. There's a process that we have to
And
go
Yeah.
sir,
through. Understood.
I understand exactly what you say, and I agree with you 150% about the liability, the architect, if somebody screw up. And as you know, when you get involved with an attorney, in litigation takes years, you know. We all know that. We all
Oh, yeah.
know stuff. You start a litigation, my house in the meantime, it sits there empty, and I gotta pay the concession loan. At the end of the day, everybody's all right, but who's the wrong and who's getting the most, the most disadvantage out of this thing, who's gonna be? It's me.
Yes.
Everybody, nobody else. So the litigation, all lawyers say, yeah, I win, I take care of it. Bring me $20,000, bring me $30,000, and we'll fight for it, you know? And that's the legal system. So I've done everything by the book. I appreciate that you guys are listening my concern, and I really appreciate that you put me an agenda for the next meeting, because
Talk to our general manager, he'll move it to the next step.
So
Thank you
give
very
me-
much.
Give me a call.
Thank you
we'll
for
meet.
coming out.
Thank you for coming
Yes.
out.
Thank you.
and thanks for listening to my complaints.
Yes.
Hopefully we make
We'll
it
get
the top of the
something
market.
resolved.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
You guys have a great weekend.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
all right.
you
Mr. Denunzio.
Diane, this is the only public speaker? Very good, thank you very much. Notice the public relative to the consent calendar. The consent calendar will be made under one motion. If there is an item that wants to be pulled by either the public and/or the board, that will be stated. And is there any items that want to be pulled?
Move to approve.
Move to approve? Second, all in favor? Aye. Item taken care of. Action items, 2.1. The contract award of the Stargate Court and River Run Circle Waterline Rehabilitation.
So, while they're bringing things up, so this is a typical construction award, but this project's a little bit unique. So Jason's going to make a little bit of presentation and talk about the project and the method that we propose to get the project completed.
And
Jason?
I apologize in advance, I don't have a check as part of this presentation, so I.
Get out of here.
Sorry about that. So yes, I'm here to discuss the construction contract award for this project, the Stargaze Court and River Run Circle Waterline Rehabilitation Project. And General Manager Prum has asked me to put together a short presentation on that to kind of highlight the unique features of this project. One of the unique features about this project is in its name. It is a rehabilitation project, not a replacement project. So typically, for our aging and failing pipes, we propose a replacement project. But in this case, we're actually going to propose a rehabilitation project. And I want to kind of, and even though that's not unique to the industry, it's a first for Vallecitos. So I kind of want to get you up to speed and make sure you understand that. So let me just explain what the project goals are. What are we trying to achieve with this project? So we have two failing pipelines, one on Stargaze Court and one on River Run Circle. So the project is to rehabilitate these two pipelines. We've got 730 feet on Stargaze and 870 feet on River Run. It's going to impact about 15 customers on Stargaze, 23 customers on River Run Circle. And in the rehabilitation process, we're going to have to temporarily highline these customers. It's going to lessen the impact to these customers by doing a rehab versus a replacement. We're also going to protect our existing facilities. So let me give you some background on how we got to the point where we actually need to do this work. I'm going to show you a map of the district. You may recognize 78 just to orientate yourself, Twin Oaks Valley Road, north-south. And Stargaze Court is in the southwestern part of the district. It's in San Leo Hills. You may be familiar with this area. It's part of the Promontory Ridge neighborhood in San Leo Hills, where Elvin Forest Road ends at Crescent Place. It's a gated neighborhood there. And then River Run Circle is up in the north of the 78, east of Twin Oaks Valley Road. It's right off of Borden Road. So drilling down a little bit on these two locations for a minute, Stargaze Court, like I said, is in San Leo Hills. It's a small dead-end cul-de-sac. The water line that feeds this neighborhood is 15 homes. A little information about the water line itself is an 8-inch ductile iron pipe. It was installed in 2002. You may recall that was sort of the boom. Things were really developing in San Leo Hills. Since it was installed in 2002, it's had 5 breaks. The last one that occurred in March, about this time last year, triggered the district to create a replacement project. And so there's a replacement project on the books right now for $400,000 to replace this water line, which the board approved in its last budget. The reason for the breaks is from external damage leading to corrosion. So, and this is something that we're actually, sort of a phenomena we're seeing in San Leo Hills with this ductile iron pipe. And I can give you some more information about that. But basically, when this water line fails, and fails repeatedly, you can imagine the customers are very upset. They're calling, what's the district going to do? How are they going to solve this? How are you going to prevent this from happening again? Again, triggering that replacement project that we need to create. Now, over on River Run Circle, north of the 78, again, it's another small cul-de-sac neighborhood. It's got 23 homes that are being fed by this water line. And just some history on that water line. Similarly, it's an 8-inch ductile iron pipe. It was installed in '98. It's had 4 breaks. The 2 most recent breaks were this fiscal year, and that's triggering us now, and you know we're in a budget season right now, to now look at that pipeline and say, okay, do we need to replace this water line? Because, again, we're seeing that same level of damage, same level of corrosion that we're typically seeing on these water lines in San Leo Hills. So the question before us is replacement or rehabilitation. Photo on the left, typical replacement project, trenching down the street, putting in the pipe 20 feet at a time. It's a little bit messy, as you can tell. We're ripping out the pavement, we're ripping out the soil, we're putting the new pipe in, bringing new soil in, new paving. So much more disruptive. However, it's the traditional way of doing it, and it's typically more economical, and that's why we do it. What we have before us is an opportunity to do a rehab project, which, if you look at the photo on the right, much less impact. It's done with trucks, not heavy equipment. They're basically digging a hole on either end of the pipe, putting in a liner, and reinstating the services, and you go on your way. Less impact to the customers, a much shorter project schedule, however, typically more expensive. But I will explain to you.
The lining goes on the inside of the current pipe?
Yes, yeah, and
A question?
Yeah.
And how do they take care of the laterals? If the liner is solid?
I'm glad you asked, and I'm going to get to that.
Oh, good.
I'm going to get to those logistics. So in looking at rehab versus replacement, we contacted Senexon Water, Inc. They were founded in 1952. They're based out of Canada. They developed what I'm going to show you here is a proprietary product. It's called AquaPipe, and they started installing this in 2000. They've got about 4 million linear feet installed in North America. They're a global company. This is also installed in Australia and Germany. It's a very popular product in the Northeast, Colorado, the Midwest, and slowly making its way to California. So let me get to your questions, and I'll pass this around so you can see this, what this is. So AquaPipe it's a composite material. It's a jacketed fiber material that's saturated with resin. It's installed in the pipe, and then it's cured with typically hot water, and it becomes a structural liner. So it meets all the industry standards of a structural liner. And what that means is, what they call this is a pipe within a pipe. So this is a cutout. It's showing you PVC. In our case, we have ductile iron pipe, right? Metal pipe, and they're going to put this in. It's structural in the sense that when that metal pipe deteriorates, the structural liner holds up on its own with the water pressure, has a 50-year design life. To answer your question about how they reinstall, I can't remember who asked the services, but they enter the pipe robotically internally and drill those out. So, and I'll just pass this around and take a look at it, and that's an actual sample. This product is certified to be used in potable water. That's important. We don't want contaminants or anything affecting the safe drinking water. So this product is certified to be used in this application.
Is it this thickness in real?
It's about between an 1/8 and a 1/4 inch thick.
And so this is designed with that thin to stand alone by itself?
Yes. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, it meets all the industry standards for a structural liner. It's called a CIPP liner, which stands for Cured in Place Pipe. The district, and many, yes?
Mr. President?
Yes.
So what you're saying is that all else fails, this blue goes away completely, disappears.
Yep.
That white would be structurally sound enough
Yes.
to continue the process,
Yes.
supposedly.
There's a lot of documentation that I'm not going to show you that supports that, a lot of bending.
Well, I'm just
and-
asking, because not you, but someone like you 25 years ago stood at the podium in front of this water board and said, ductile iron, man, it's the best stuff. Get rid of what you use and use this, it's fantastic.
That may have
And
been
now
the
we're paying
case.
for it.
That is true.
Well, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, but I think they have,
I don't know what the proof is. Where
they've been doing it
where have we
since
used it
52.
that we can see what the
Oh,
proof is?
not we, but others.
That item.
We have not used this product before, but it's extensively used. It's currently being used in San Francisco and LA with their water agencies. It's going to be used here very soon in the Irvine Ranch Water District.
But can you hear the ductile guy say the same thing? I'm sorry.
Yes, that's true. I mean, there's always a manufacturer for a product who's looking for the next and greatest thing. And I would say, certainly from the engineering point, we don't want to be on the front edge of that. We definitely want to see that proven track record before I'm going to stand up here and say, hey, we recommend it. But we do have a track record that we're referencing. Certainly not here in the district, but you have to make that first step at some point.
Yes.
Somewhere locally?
What's that?
Somewhere locally?
Levenheim Municipal Water District has been working with Senexen for over 5 years to come to an agreement on a project that they will use this product on. VID is in discussions with them.
Right, but they're not using it now, I guess, that's what I'm saying.
No, they're theoretically going to, but the closest agency that you could look at would be Irvine Ranch Water District, sorry.
And how long have they been in using it?
They're going to install it this spring.
So they haven't installed it either.
Yeah, East Bay Mud has over 15,000 linear feet that they installed in 2016, 2017.
2 years.
Yes. It's
I'm-
been,
I'm just curious because we're looking at a $750,000 investment here to do this. And with a new product, isn't it worthwhile someone going back and investigating someone that's been using it for 20 years? Since 2000 is what you said has been being used? I mean, it seemed to be worth the flight and the hotel. I don't know. The ductile was the greatest stuff and now we have nothing but problems.
right. And there's a lot of reasons why that ductile has failed, and I'm sure you're aware of the corrosion issues and stuff.
Yes, Mike?
Jason, you said that it has an expected life, design life of 50 years. What's the warranty?
The warranty on the product, yeah, I'm guessing it's 10 years is typical. Certainly, it's a 1-year warranty from install, but the actual product itself, from any sort of manufacturer defect or anything, would be a standard 10 years, which is per California law.
In order for this product to be approved, it goes through a lot of rigorous testing. And there's probably over 1 million feet worldwide. I don't know the exact number, but this has been tested in a lot of applications. Not here, but our situation isn't that unique here either.
Yeah, Jason,
Yes.
Senexen, did that used to be in situ form?
No.
That's just a separate company?
Yeah, totally separate. So this company only does potable water.
Okay.
So their crews, equipment, everything is certified for potable only. In fact, we were talking to them about some possible sewer problems that we could work with them, and they said, no, we don't touch sewer. We only touch
Yeah,
water.
In situ form's a company that got into it on the sewer side.
Yeah, so the liners have been, liners have been around for decades, and typically they're very thin felt type products that are used in gravity pipelines, sewer pipelines, and we use them today. In fact, we have a project next month where we're going to be lining some of our sewer lines. But the potable water, the structural liners that hold up under itself, yeah, that's only been in existence, 20 years. But again, like the general manager said, they go through extensive national and international testing processes to say that, yes, we can handle the pressures of your water system, that we don't have any contaminants that are going to cause problems. So, and I can only, stand here and go on what I've seen in that research without doing our own extensive testing and whatnot, which is really just not, feasible for us to do. We can really only go on that prior record.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know, is this the last slide that you had, or you?
I had a couple more,
Okay.
and then a short minute-and-a-half video that kind of gives you a little bit of information.
Then I'll wait, because I think that video might have some
Okay,
of my
okay.
questions on it.
So I'll just, the next slide, I was just going to kind of explain a little bit of the logistics of how it's installed. Again, there's 2 pits on either side of the pipe. They pull that in about 1,000 feet a day, which is ideal for the size of the projects that we're looking at. And like I mentioned, they reinstate those services internally. The advantages, as I've said, is the less disturbance to the pavement and the community, traffic noise, all that stuff. Those are all benefits to this project. And already covered this, but some of the projects that they've installed, East Bay Municipal Water District, LADWP, they're working with Irvine Ranch. And one of the reasons we're looking at this is, as you can imagine, a national, international firm, the mobilization cost for this equipment, labor, and everything is quite extensive. It's in the order of $30,000, $50,000. Because they're going to be doing some work in Irvine Ranch, we would like to schedule them actually in June to begin this work, and we get a substantial savings from that shared cost. In addition, they're very motivated to work their way. You can see they're working their way down the coast of California, trying to break into the San Diego market, and their pricing reflects that. So I'll just show this short video, and Diane will start it for me. It's about 1.5 minutes long.
Was developed in 1999 to repair water mains in ways that is more economical, more environmentally friendly, and less intrusive to the community.
Since that time, Aquapipe has been successfully installed in more than 1.2 million feet of water mains in North America.
Aquapipe is actually a trenchless method for reconstructing water mains from the inside without having to dig the streets in. It's made of a very thin composite material that is fully structural, and once inside, it basically makes a pipe within the pipe.
From the busy downtown thoroughfare to the quiet residential street, the process does not impede traffic like the traditional open-cut replacement method. It also provides area businesses and residences with a temporary supply of water while the work is being performed.
Aquapipe is prepared and installed on the jungle site. We pull in a liner inside the pipe. Once cured, becomes a solid, fully structural pipe within the pipe. Now, to reinstate the water services, those are the lines that supply water to each house. We go in with a remote control robot, and that allows us to reopen those services from inside the pipe without having to dig out those services to reinstate them.
By using Aquapipe technology, the owners are prolonging the life of their outdated water mains by 50 years.
And to answer your first question, that voiceover is Terry Bradshaw. So. I was going to wrap this up with giving you some of the economical benefits and fiscal impact, but did you have a question that
Yeah.
is more?
For me, what I like about it is, and I appreciate the innovation that you and the entire team are bringing to us with this, because when you have, especially when it's in, a residential neighborhood and they're on residential streets, and I understand that stuff happens, pipes are gonna break and there's gonna be impacts, but it's especially impactful to folks when it's in their cul-de-sac, for example. Not only do they have to deal with the kind of the sporadic water working, water not working, maybe losing water while we fix it, then if we had to go and cut the entire road up, that's certainly gonna be impactful, it's gonna be dusty, and it's gonna cause parking issues. And one of my biggest pet peeves when not only we do stuff, but when the city does stuff and when SDG&E does stuff, I cannot stand the patches, the asphalt patches that are kind of like, you end up getting kind of this patchwork, and it just forever, until they repave the entire street, looks horrible in my opinion. So I think this is a solution that seems proven, it seems innovative, which I really appreciate, and most importantly, I like the idea that it's gonna have a lesser impact on the residents that are ultimately impacted by this. So thank you.
Yeah, and this is not what we're going to do in every case. This is just another tool in our toolbox as we look at solutions to various projects. So in this case, it works. In the next replacement project, it may not work. We're going to evaluate those things as they come. It just so happens that in this case, it's a really good economical decision for the district, as well as, like you said, the residents and the customers.
We have continually heard about San Diego Hills, one of our newer developments relative, and we have more breaks going on up there than anywhere else in the whole district, and it just drives me crazy. I mean, believe me, I put in a lot of line, and I can't blink an eye, the inspector's not right there looking at what's going on. And the developer up there failed us. I think we must have failed ourselves, because some of this was, what I remember being told is perhaps when it was put in, they had an abrasion into the pipe or something. And is there just nothing we can do? I know the bond is long since gone, and the developer's made his money out of town. So I guess we own it. We got to take care of it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Our friend in the gallery here.
Yeah, Mr. Gumpel and I have had extensive talks about this, and there's not much we can do because of what's already happened.
You're right.
But, and he can come up with that. We've done a lot to sort of prevent this from happening again.
Oh, good. I'd like to hear about that.
Director Hernandez, you may remember when we first started discovering all these breaks and we replaced all of Sagewood with an open cut project. And we didn't really know the cause of the breaks, what was going on, until we dug it all up. And when we dug it up, we discovered that majority, we had 18 breaks on Sagewood, or 17 breaks on Sagewood? 17 breaks on Sagewood, and a quarter-mile pipe. And within a 10-year period, basically, or less than 10-year period, they would just accelerate. The frequency was accelerating. Was dry utility crossings. The way it works is the wet utilities go in, the deeper stuff goes into storm drain, the wet utilities, sewer, water goes in, ground gets covered up, we leave. So later, dry utilities come in. Your Cox, your AT&T, your SDG&E, PacBell, fiber optics, that comes in, and then they have to feed each household. If you go down the street, you see those boxes. That's the dry utility pull boxes or service boxes, and then they cross the road at some point. Almost every break came from where they crossed the road. Then we started getting breaks from areas that they didn't cross the road, and we didn't know why. Well, we discovered that the city required San Diego Hills developer to put in concrete treated base. So it was a wet year when Sagewood was developed, and they were having trouble getting solidification of the ground, basically compaction. So they dug out the extra dirt, but they were afraid they were going to hit the water line, so they probed with a metal probe at the top of the water line, and they punched holes in the bag. Okay, and then they put...
James, explain what the bag is.
Okay, so our ductile iron pipes are surrounded by a plastic bag, basically, and the bag keeps water from touching the ductile iron pipe. So in theory, the pipe is ductile iron with a plastic bag, you have corrosion soil next to it, but since you don't have any water, there will be no corrosion. So as soon as you punch a hole in that bag, it lets water in. That in itself is not that bad in reality. But when you put concrete treated base, the concrete is alkaline, and you got pH alkaline, so it's acid and alkaline. So the alkaline soil leaches down into the bag, and when you have alkaline soil touching metallic pipe, it basically becomes battery acid over time. That's probably not an accurate description, but that's how the corrosion engineer described it to me. And it accelerates corrosion. So we had perfectly round holes, probe marks every so many feet. That's when we made the decision back in, what year was Sagewood, do you remember?
2012.
2012, to completely replace that line. This neighborhood in San Diego Hills also has concrete treated base. And other neighborhoods in San Luis Hills that have concrete treated, we're seeing the same type of failures. So now we understand the mechanism of the failure, what caused them. Engineering and the Vallecitos, the district as a whole, we're actually embarking in a pipeline assessment program that we're going to roll out over the next 2-3 years, where we start putting equipment into the pipe to see what sections of pipe need to be replaced, because replacing the whole pipe is expensive. And if we just get away with replacing the bad pipe, it would save the district a lot of money over the course of all those pipes. The other thing I want to point out that this project itself is a pilot project. So we're partnering with the contractor to get a better price to pilot it out and try it out. It's something we're going to monitor, it's something we're going to go back and test to see if it does hold up over the test of time. And it may be many years before we do another aqua pipe, or how do you pronounce the name? Senexin project. Or we may find out after some testing that it does really well.
Jim?
Yes. Go ahead.
Well, first, I'd just like to say that Director Sinella said it very well. I like that we're doing something innovative in this situation. And after listening to what you've just said, I really appreciate that we've learned what the error was, and we know that it's not every pipe that's going to do that. It doesn't mean that those pipes themselves weren't great pipes. They just didn't work in the situation. And this gives us different ways to address our problems. The only thing when I'm looking at this is it just occurred to me that, have you looked at duct tape? Because this looks a lot. I'm very.
You can't fix it, duct
Duct tape works for everything, don't you know?
That's what I'd heard, but.
Director Evans, I went with a duct tape method. I'm an excellent duct taper.
And it still happened.
But, for some reason, Jason wouldn't agree with me.
Oh. And I like that it's a pilot project and we have an opportunity to save on the costs and to gather information, monitor it. I think kudos to staff and your research on it.
Yeah, and just for the board's information, and Jason didn't know, is we have done a structural lining project in Vallecitos. We did the first, on the west coast, we did the first Kevlar lined in situ form project from Lift Station 1 to the intersection of San Marcos Boulevard and Rancho Santa Fe Road. That is a in situ form with a Kevlar line to make it structural, because that pipe that we pump from Lift Station 1 all the way to Metal Arc, raw sewer, we pump it, is actually a Techite pipe, which is structurally weak. So we put a structural liner in that pipe. That process is very expensive and it was very time consuming as far as the installation. This is obviously, oh gosh, that was in the 90s, I believe. So this has been many more decades and technology has advanced.
Very good. Yes, sir.
Are we currently using DIP?
That's it. Director Martin, you may remember when we first were talking about all these duct iron failures, the board said, hey, how are we, asked staff, how are we going to ensure that we resolve this problem in the future? And what we ended up doing is we redid our specifications. And maybe 2.5 years ago or so, maybe 3 years ago now, we came to the board, presented adoption of the new specifications, in which we no longer use duct iron pipe. We're using C900 or plastic pipe, which is that's a sample of it there for our smaller lines, and then our larger lines we're going to steel, that's cement lined and coated.
Okay. So, yeah, I have to, some people have accused me of not wanting change, and that's just not true. If you can change and save money, I think that's fantastic. A couple of concerns I have on this, and they're just concerns, are number one, they say it's good for 50 years at the end of that tape, but yet they only warranty it for 10. And also, it's a warranty, not a guarantee, which means, yeah, they'll give you this much worth of product, you have to go install it yourself. I mean, is there a real guarantee of 10 years? Something goes wrong, they come and fix it, zero cost?
No, that's only for a year, but that's industry standard. So when you get plastic pipe, it's the same warranty. When you get steel pipe, it's the same warranty. When you got duct iron pipe, it's the same warranty. So a manufacturer for equipment material doesn't warranty for the expected life of the material. They don't know if we're surging the system, mistreating the system, if we're allowing the pipe to go above pressure class. They have no control in that. So what basically manufacturer defective warranties last more than a year, but the actual full warranty is usually just a year. You can write in maybe up to 2 years on workmanship, but it really doesn't go beyond that typically, unless there's a special condition or special situation.
Thank you. Any further questions? Entertain a motion to approve the contract? Yes, question?
Move for approval.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you. Item number 2.2, the San Marcos Boys and Girls Club Annual Auction item. Not on our list, so we need to talk about approval of this to see if we want to attend the event.
Okay, so I would suggest that there's 2 items we need direction on. One is, does the board want to pay any attending directors per diem as well as expenses to attend? And the other is, does the district want to sponsor the event? So be looking for direction on both of those items.
Mr. Sennell, I think this is perfect for you to head
Yeah,
conversation.
I'm actually the one that brought this up, and really the reason why I asked it to be placed on the agenda is so we could talk about it, because otherwise we couldn't. And we talk about it, seems like every year. And so, oddly enough, every year we do something a little bit different. So I guess it's just kind of one of those things, I guess it's all about what mood we're in. But I bring this up, and I'll first start off by just to take it off the table. I'm not necessarily in favor of the per diem piece of it, but the second part of what General Manager Bruin had asked us about was, do we want to sponsor it? And if you would have asked me maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have probably said, probably not. But having attended the recent State of the City address at Cal State San Marcos and seeing how other agencies within the community, educational organizations, different utilities, the city, the chamber, they were all taking leadership roles within our community. And we used to do that just as recently as a couple years ago. And somehow, some way, we kind of got off track and we stopped being a leader in San Marcos and in our service area. And I think that it was very evident, and those of you, I think, even commented, others commented on it, that we were not present at the State of the City like some of the other groups were, and that was very disappointing from my perspective. So, having said all that, while I'm not in favor of the per diem piece of it, I am most certainly in favor of sponsoring and being part of the Boys and Girls Club's event, and to the tune of even doing a table. And we can have that discussion as to who wants to attend, who can't attend, all those types of things. But I just think it's very important that we continue our tradition of being a leader in the community.
Just a reminder, table sponsorship is $1,500.
Right. Any other question? I have a comment myself. Any other?
When we talk about sponsorship, is there a possibility, does that also include like doing centerpieces or providing an auction item for the fundraiser that has to do with, rain harvesting or
Yeah, I don't know if they're looking for alternative sponsorships. They're looking
or if
for.
they're looking specifically for
Yeah.
tables.
They're looking for money out of this. So
Okay.
Diane, I don't know if you're aware of any other alternative sponsorships like centerpieces or anything else that they may.
They
Yeah,
just want cash.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, do we
Yes.
know, kind of year-to-date in this fiscal year, how much we've spent on these kind of sponsorships?
We'd have to compile that information.
I mean,
It's
is
not, it's not
Couple
huge.
thousand, or?
Yeah, it's probably in the 10,000 range, I guess.
Total?
Yeah.
I have a couple comments. You're right, I was the one that began beating the drum years back about becoming more community involved, and I guess we slipped off of that, but I agree with Director Snell. I don't think per diem would be appropriate either, because they don't need to pay us to go to an event. But the event itself, I think, is worthy. And the second thing, and I don't know if this can fit into this particular agendaized item, but can we at the same time put this on our list so we don't have to keep talking about it every year? I don't think there's a year gone by in the last 6 that we haven't done something. and we just keep coming back and rehashing it.
Keeps coming up.
Yeah, so,
Well, whatever the board would like, we can
Oh, okay.
certainly do. One thing I would point out, there's a bit of a discrepancy between what you said. If we put it on the list, that list that you refer to is one that directors are eligible for per diems
Ah.
and expense reimbursement.
We-
That's what the list is for. Sponsorship, we don't really have a list of automatic sponsorships, so it's.
can we, well, can we put it on the list with a caveat that no per diem comes to this, with this addition to the list? Or is that a policy change that we need to
That's
do?
a policy change.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we need to do that. But for this particular item, Director Sneller, would you like to enter a motion on this particular?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we, Vallecitos, purchase a table sponsorship for this year's annual Boys and Girls Club of San Marcos auction.
Second.
For $1,500.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
I'm going to oppose simply because I think it's a wonderful cause, and over my lifetime, I've certainly given thousands of dollars to Boys and Girls Club, but as a director, I really don't think it's appropriate for me to ask the ratepayers to, there's no direct benefit to the ratepayers, in my opinion, so I would not be able to support this.
Thank you very much. Get with Diane, the individuals, and again, I know it's a table of 10. There's only 5 of us potentially and spouses, so we certainly would like to see our manager and his lovely wife and anybody else that wants to participate to fill up the 10. We can get with Diane and make arrangements.
All right.
You had something that we're going to say?
Yeah, I hesitate, but I need to say it. I agree there's only an indirect, we can't quantify the $1,500 as to direct, what we get out of it directly, but our third grade program, our calendars, I can think of a lot of things that we do that there's no direct reimbursement for to the district. But indirectly, there certainly is. Indirectly, having the third graders here is important. Indirectly, putting the calendars up, it puts our name out. So I think that indirectly works the same thing with the Boys and Girls Club. It's not direct, but it certainly is an indirect bonus to be involved in your community.
Yeah, and if I can just add on to that too, I view it as part of our public outreach budget. And we have a budget for public outreach. If, now that we've just approved this expenditure, if we get to the end of the year, we're not gonna add to the budget to make up for it. We're just gonna not do something at the end of the year from a public outreach standpoint. So I wholeheartedly agree with Director Martin's comments, and I also don't see this as being that significant of a fiscal impact.
Very good. Moving on. Let's see, that was 2.2. That was the end of the action items. The 3.1, which is the general manager.
Okay, so I got a few here, I'll make them quick. So, a few months ago, I reported the snowfall equivalents in the state, and they were down in the low 20% of average. Then, back in February, it rose to like 32%. The latest snow survey showed that we're up at about 49%.
Oh.
So that's good, the situation's improving. We're still half of an average year, so that's not good, but it's more than twice what it was just a couple of months ago, so that's good news. Just a couple of water supply updates. The County Water Authority is performing annual maintenance on the product pipeline that takes the desal water from the plant to their distribution system. So there is no desal water being distributed right now. It went down on March 18th, which was Sunday, and it'll be down for 10 days. So it'll come back online March 27th or 28th. So we're not getting our direct supply of desal, but we have plenty of other connections. We're getting water that we need. So that's not a problem, and there will be no negative financial consequence to us for not taking our direct supplies or anything like that. Another water supply related item, Metropolitan Water District is proposing to switch their water supply from State Water Project water, which is Northern California Bay Delta water, to 100% Colorado River water. So both of those supplies end up in Lake Skinner for treatment. I think they already started turning the dials to make it more Colorado River dependent, but the size of Lake Skinner and the amount of water that goes through it, it's going to take about a month for it to change over from currently predominantly State Water Project water storage to Colorado River storage. Colorado River water, even after it's treated, is significantly harder and has more dissolved minerals and salts in it. So some residents may see some issues, probably not a taste and odor issue, but likely spotting of dishes out of the dishwasher. You wash your car, it's a little spottier, but I don't anticipate big problems due to this switchover. There will be another event that's going to happen in August, and I think in August timeframe, we'll talk about it then, but it has to do with chlorination of the water. But we'll talk about that then. And the last item I wanted to talk about was just to give the board and the public an update on the Encino Wastewater Authority secondary treatment plant upset. They experienced it a couple of weeks ago, and they had an impact on the biological process down at the treatment plant. They're still not 100% sure of what caused it, but they think they've got their hands around it, and it's much better. What really happened is there was a lot of odor complaints. They couldn't treat the water, but it resulted in a lot of odor complaints. So that's the bad thing. And Encino really prides himself on very few odor complaints. And obviously, we're a member agency of Encino, so it affects us. They did take some emergency actions, which was good, including replacing all their activated carbon in their scrubbers, and I think that helped a lot in addition to getting the secondary treatment back online. So they did a good job, and it looks like all the systems are returning to normal, and that's all I have.
Very good. Our new legal counsel. We are standing by to hear your report.
Great. First, I'd like to thank you all for the selection, and it's a pleasure to be here. Got a signed contract now, so we'll be working
that's good.
with staff and everyone. I had just a couple of updates relative to the State Water Resource Control Board actions. In February, they were looking at making amendments to the regulations to deal with prohibiting water waste. Essentially, they deferred those. I mean, there has been some opposition in the state to it relative to the board taking actions, imposing penalties. So they postponed, I guess, adopting those regulations in February, be taking them over at the March meeting. Then last, I guess it was a week ago or so, they adopted regulations, which I don't know if it'll affect you, but which would allow greater latitude in terms of indirect potable reuse into surface water facilities. So that'll be a direct benefit to many agencies. And then we worked with Glenn this week on the Safe and Affordable Drinking Water Act, essentially the water tax issue, which is moving forward in Sacramento. All of the agencies, I think, are lined up relative to the negative impacts of it. Aqua's taking a lobbying standpoint, and I think you all submitted a letter and money to Aqua to do that, which is consistent with what other agencies.
So I'll clarify, we did submit letters of opposition, and there will be an item on the April 4th agenda here to talk about making a monetary contribution to help Aqua in their efforts to fight the water tax.
So, and that's all, from our perspective, really necessary, because it does have some legs up in the north. I don't know how to survive a 218 attack potentially, but it does have some legs.
Yeah, I had a question. I think there's another separate bill that apparently has some legs that's would prevent water utilities from shutting off people's services for non-payment.
Right.
Is that still winding its way?
It is.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the Dodd bill
That's
with
part
the
of the Dodd.
low income rate assistance and the inability to shut off connections.
Right.
So is that gaining steam or gaining support?
It's gaining support for the opposition of it, certainly. There's a lot of discussions amongst general managers and the water agencies.
Can we get, thank you, President. Can we get kind of, I hadn't heard about that one. Can we get kind of a little bit more detailed briefing on that in the near future, just what it's all about, and more specifically, how it would get around? You know, we've talked about, like most water agencies, you know, could we have like a lifeline rate, right, for low income households, about having a lower rate, kind of like what SDG&E does. I know they're different because they're a private company and we're not. So how would this, because obviously if somebody was low income and didn't pay their bill, but yet but continued to use water, that cost is going to be burdened by everybody else within the district. So how does that, I would love to know a little bit more about how that all works out.
Yeah, we can work together and put something together for the board.
Thanks.
Very good.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For Jim. Welcome aboard, that's fantastic. And I'm assuming you're not up to date yet on or up to speed on it, but Lake San Marcos, as soon as you do get up to speed on it, we'd like to have your opinion on where it is, where it's going, and how soon it's coming to a closure.
Sure.
I do have a concluding, I'll call it concluding memo from Jeff Scott on that issue. I don't think I've shared it with Jim yet, and I will, and I'll be sharing that with the board soon. I was just taking a look at it first.
Okay,
But then, and I'll meet with Jim and we'll come up with something.
perfect.
Great, thank you.
All right.
I just want to mention one other program. I sent it to Glenn. I don't know. BBK is sponsoring I guess, a symposium at the Nixon Library, which is entitled "The Bill is Due," dealing with infrastructure, pension, and environmental issues. It's on April 24th. So if any of you'd like to attend that, we did one in the past called Revisiting the Cadillac Desert, which was done about a year ago. We're doing these programs every other year. Similar to that program, we've brought a bunch of national speakers on, the infrastructure bill, the pensions, and the environmental issues to talk, future aspects of that. So
The 24th of March or April?
24th of
It's
April
April.
at the Nixon Library. So
Do you have a flyer or something you can get to?
I do. I'll
good.
send it. I'll send it to Glenn so he can
Perfect,
distribute it to you all.
All right. The Water Authority.
Okay, well, they've actually already hit on a lot of it. Right now, the discussion is what's really going to happen? Are we going to be in a drought or not? So everybody's sitting on pins and needles trying to figure out which way they're going to go, and is it going to get worse or more strict or less strict? They've mentioned the bills that are of concern as well, and we will be working on that. And I thought you might be interested to know that I believe it was today that Senator Toni Atkins became the first woman to lead the California Senate. So as you know, she's been involved in San Diego County, done a lot of good things for water, and she does have a bill, I think right now, where she's sponsoring with the conservation issues and on expenditures on that. So, but the meeting's tomorrow, and there's nothing else to report.
Very good. And seeing the Water Authority, the Capital Committee, we had a Capital Committee this morning. We're going to finish our 2015 major rehab in May, finally. We had some setbacks because of the major contractor supplier of the covers for the basins went BK, and so that took a little time to get that resolved. This odor issue that the general manager mentioned, we were on the news last night trying to get everyone calmed down as to after 9 years of no odor complaints. We hit the big one. I mean, it wasn't just a little one. It was horrific. And one of our staff members, he went in to see the carbon that cleans the odor. He couldn't, I mean, really, cookie tossing, it was just pathetic. He just never had it that bad. So they're getting that resolved finally, but it's going to take about another week, 10 days before it's actually back to normal. So we may still hear some more about that.
Have they checked the stream come out of environmental company here?
No, but that was one of the other topics we had a discussion about, which was a study of the septic system. And the ultimate direction was to have Mike, the general manager, talk with our general manager and the two general counsels to get together, because the bigger issue is the area of coverage. If we're able to expand our area of coverage, there's money to be made, which is going to reduce our individual membership participation. Vista is, at least at the moment, no, they don't want to do anything like that. That then, and we need a unanimous decision for that expansion. That's the way the board works. That pushes it over to the individual agencies, such as Vallecitos. We could take it on and make the dollars, but we have to expand our area of service, and that goes back to Encina for a unanimous decision. So the first step is, let's see if legally we can do anything. And so Mike Steinnick is going to be talking to Glenn to talk to the legal, and we'll see where that goes. And that was the report from the Capital Committee, rehab, odor, and septic. Yes. Policy.
EWA's Policy and Finance Committee met March 13th, and we considered an informational item from staff on EWA's CalPERS unfunded pension liability.
Very good, sir. Standing committees,
We didn't have a finance committee since the last meeting. We're meeting tomorrow.
and we didn't have an engineering committee or a policy committee meeting this month, so that's said and done. Directors' reports of meeting and conferences attended. Yes, sir.
Yesterday, I did attend the Cowan meeting in the morning. Very interesting, and talking about the, I hate to use the silver tsunami, it's so overused, but the amount of people that are retiring, and have been retiring, and Cuyamaca College was represented there, and along with one of its board members, and I think, was that the president of the college that was there as well? Yeah. it was- talking about what they're doing, and that Palomar is trying to help Palomar come along, but since Ed left Palomar, it's fallen apart. They didn't say that, but we all know that. And they're hoping to bring Palomar back on board, and they've been trying to help them because there are a lot of retirements coming up. As we know, Ed only has 10 years to go.
Yeah.
And
Both hands, 5 and 5, no?
10, we got it right.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that was very, very worthwhile attending Cowan. Very good, thank you.
And I also attended the same meeting, very similar comments, but one step further, and Director Pruitt and Ed, maybe you have some input on this. Would it be beneficial if we met with Palomar to see what we can do to help bolster that or help do something? Because I know my son-in-law took the classes from you, raved by jeebers out of it, and I'm an alum, so I'm very pro Palomar College, and to hear that they've fallen off the wagon, if you will, is a
You're a
little
comet?
disheartening.
I didn't know you were a comet.
Oh, yeah, man.
I didn't know that.
Same year they started, I was born.
Well, I'm very supportive of developing a relationship with Palomar. I'll look to Ed, because I don't have the history of what,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, either with the college or a relationship between, so maybe Ed
Or
has
it's
some
just
thoughts.
money there.
Oh, good, come on up, Ed.
Well, Vallecitos has supported the water wastewater program at Palomar College for many years.
Yes.
We were the primary movers to get the very first hands-on water lab before Cuyamaca. In fact, Cuyamaca used the designs that we put in over at Palomar College to build theirs. Unfortunately, there was a retirement of the dean that was in charge of occupational programs.
Mhm.
And then the director that was my boss when I taught there and as program coordinator, she left the college because they didn't hire her as the next dean, so she went to another college. Since that time, and I quit teaching and been trying to hand over the program coordinator job as well, they've been through about 3 or 4 different interim directors of occupational courses. I've kind of washed my hands of it because every one of them I met, I went through the same spiel. We need to build this program back up. It's been failing. It wasn't getting any support. I have heard some good news that the person they have on board now is full-time director of occupational courses, and they want to rebuild the program. I've been talking with Jason Cavender at Fallbrook, and he's kind of been filling in a little bit, but they're actively pursuing now someone to work full-time as an instructor and as a program coordinator, which I did for free, thank you. And now
Yeah.
So now they're going to pay somebody to do the job.
Yeah, thank you very much, yeah.
And obviously you need to find somebody that's retired to do
Mhm,
it.
yeah.
So they are trying to get back into it, but we have slipped quite a bit at Palomar. And you know, the industry has always been very supportive of both programs. Cuyamaca is just shining like gold right now, though.
Oh, yeah.
They've had immense support from their administration. And Don Jones, who's the program coordinator down there, him and I have been counterparts for years. We had built both programs up very, very well in the county. Unfortunately, like I said, Palomar's just they kind of kicked us to the curb again. Water, wastewater was not sexy enough for them to pay any attention to.
Well, and Cuyamaca's on the verge of getting a 4-year bachelor's program
Yep.
at a community college, which is quite unheard of.
Yep.
So, but I think I would encourage getting
Yeah.
together, and if I happen to bump into the foundation president here at one of the events that we were at, and being a past foundation president, if you need others to show up, be happy to attend.
I'd love to see the program come back to its
Yeah.
full strength. I have a degree both in water and wastewater from that program,
Yeah.
it's a great program, and we have some great instructors. It's just the participation from the agencies kind of has fallen off as well, so that's something that needs to be built back in and get the
Yes, sir.
strength back.
I also understood from the gentleman, they were talking about the program at the university, which is a different bailiwick, that's more administration, but even that's not doing very well because
It's again, it's another thing that it's tough to build interest in the community in general, to say, hey, this is an excellent career, this is something that's important, something that we all know how important, it is to be in the water industry, but it's very difficult to push that out and get people to sell it.
Yeah.
So.
Why don't you show them the pension plan?
Yeah, well, we were building a bridge from Palomar and Cuyamaca College to that program.
Yeah.
As well, and I haven't seen anything move on that in a while, but it's definitely worthwhile.
Director Snow?
Ed, I think you hit it on the head, because even the speaker yesterday, I attended the event as well, he even kind of joked that when folks are sitting around, parents are sitting around the kitchen table with their kids, and they asked their kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? And there's a lot of police officers and doctors and lawyers and everything else. Nobody ever says, I want to be a water or wastewater, technician or expert or anything to do with water, right? So I think you're spot on. I will say a couple points. I thought it was a very interesting presentation, also a very concerning presentation for all the things that we just talked about. One of the positive sides of it, though, at least for Cuyamaca College, is that they're working very aggressively to get the military involved as those in the armed forces transition out into the private sector and the public sector in water, because there's a lot of military related jobs, and obviously there's on military bases they have water and wastewater and everything, and there's folks who have some experience at least doing some of those jobs, and they could have a very rewarding career in water and wastewater once they leave the military. So I thought that was at least one little sign of positiveness.
Yeah, as an industry, we have reached out to the military quite a bit. Don Jones, again, at Cuyamaca College, him and I worked together on a workforce development program here in San Diego County. And American Water Works Association, they had a workforce development council that I was on for a while until it kind of fell apart and we moved into leadership development and education. And so those two committees I serve on now. But it is a great place to go to find people who are ready to work.
Yeah.
And we actually have a lot of veterans that work at Vallecitos, and they've proven to be excellent employees. They are, not to bash on the millennials, but these guys that are coming out of, and ladies that are coming out of the military, they have discipline, they show up on time, they're great workers, they understand the value of hard work. And unfortunately, it's been difficult to find that in some of the new generation.
Yes.
I understand we used to, I don't know if we currently do. Do we still have an intern program here?
Yes, the internship program is with San Diego County. It's a regional, and the Water Authority actually heads that up. I'm still involved in that. If you remember, I've been on the committee for that since its inception.
Right.
It's been a very successful program. We're at about an 84% hire rate out of the program, which is extremely great. And they're getting paid, to be in this internship program. A lot of them are free, but the agencies all pay the interns. So it's been very successful. And Palomar College and Cuyamaca are both involved in that as well.
Do we currently have interns?
We do not have one with us this quarter, so it's done in quarters. But we typically host 3 interns per year. And so they'll work 8 weeks down at the treatment plant. They'll work 8 weeks in either water operations or mechanical, electrical department. So those are the 3 modules we have. We don't have a water treatment plant, so we can't do that 4th module, but we do support it.
And are they interns for free, or are they interns that are getting paid?
No, they're getting paid, but they can only work as up to 27 hours per week.
How
And
much do we- how
it's
much do
minimum
we-
wage,
how much do we-
11, whatever minimum wage is right now in San Diego County. $11 an hour, I think, or $11.50.
Ed, how many of our employees were interns?
Right now, there's 3 former interns that are employees at the district. Ivan, you might remember down at the treatment plant. He was an intern. He actually got hired in South County first, and then opportunity arose for him to be hired here. Dustin Harris at our wastewater collections, and the third person escapes me right now. Can't remember
Wes?
who it was.
Wes?
Yeah, it might have been Wes.
Well, thank you, Ed. That gives us an infill on that, and let's see if we can pursue
Yeah,
that.
and we'll follow up on that.
Perfect.
Well, I attended the Council of Water Utilities yesterday as well, and I agree with all the comments. And particularly the fact that virtually all of us in this industry stepped in water and wastewater, no pun intended, accidentally.
Yeah. Very good. Director Evans, anything? All right. Moving on to directors' comments and future agenda items.
I have just one comment, and I wanted to thank the staff, and I've already said this to GM, what a great job they did on the traffic control, on the sewer cleaning on Deer Springs. Not an easy, fun road to work on, and I did have to traverse it a couple of times, and I was both impressed with, first of all, we had so many, they looked so clean and nice, and the guys were courteous, very courteous to the people. It was very well done. And it was strange that when I first went out, I had an appointment in Vista, and on the way, I passed VID working on just a little thing on Buena Creek, and their truck was kind of dirty, and the guys looked there were 3 of them, and they just looked so irritated, and I thought, wow. I know I see these things because I'm in the water world now, but what a difference. And I traversed it twice, and my daughter and my husband both, and said it had gone really well. And I don't know if we got any complaints.
Not that I heard.
I knew you had the signs up, it was coming, but not a fun street to travel anyway. So just kudos. Thank you for doing your jobs well. And obviously, no one got hurt, and that's why we got a check,
That's right.
right? You guys take good care of yourselves. I was very proud of the district. Thank you.
Very good. Director's comments and future agenda items.
We
Director?
did that, but
What?
I have one thing to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That check that we received earlier tonight is a direct result of our staff and what they've done to be safer, and they worked very hard at it. And when we go to the JPIA convention part, they always point out the people that are getting checks back, and we haven't for a few years, so it's nice to see it come back this year. And tomorrow, I'm going to be excited to see where that fits into our finance budget.
Right. Well, put that in that groundwater fund money.
Maybe they'll afford the extra boots now.
Director Sinella,
No, I'm good.
Director Martin.
I'm done.
I do have one, it's interesting, and I mentioned this to Manager Broom here. We get the emails are wonderful, and I'd like to read them, but does that open us up, General Counsel, to if somebody wants to now, with all the news going on about getting emails and servers and all that, because I'm receiving that on my private computer, does that mean the ratepayer can go, we want to take all your emails and look through them?
Well, there's 2 issues. One is we should talk at probably a future meeting about what accounts the emails you're using or your phones, because there was a change in the law a year ago relative to opening up personal devices to Brown Act requests for information that you have on those devices relative to the district. But the general manager and I have talked, what he's sending is informational items to you, blind carbon copies, which is my practice. I'm included on those, so they're just informational items, and they're not askew with the Brown Act or anything else.
Okay, good. Because I already told them no. Yes, and before I move on to you, Director, I would like to, once you get with Mike Stenlick and whatever, could we forward that to the engineering committee for a discussion? So we can then move it on to a board item when we
We've
know what to
already
talk
added that
about.
to the list. It'll be the item number 5 on the engineering committee.
Very good, thank you, sir. No, Director.
Yeah, I just wanted to personally welcome BB&K and Jim, and look
Thank you.
forward to working with Jim and BB&K.
Director Evans. Very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.